A very good day to all of you out there. This is Admav here with another episode of Admav's Corner. Today is July 1st, 2022. So, I would first like to say Happy Canada Day to all my fellow Canadians out there. I can't lie to you guys. This is maybe the fifth take or fifth start to recording, as I've stumbled quite a bit on my first few attempts. If you're a long-time listener, welcome back. If you're new, welcome to the channel. As I always say, this space is for everything and anything. It's a safe space. You're welcome here to discuss what's on your mind. And today, in this episode, I'm going to be continuing the series of all my romantic relationships in the past, at least the ones that have made a huge impact on my life. Thus far, I've covered quite a bit, and the reason why I was stumbling so much before even getting to this version of the recording was because, well, this episode's going to be tough to get through, as this was a difficult, I'm not going to mince words, okay? The relationship I'm covering in this episode was probably the most challenging one, the most difficult one, and funnily enough, was my first serious relationship. I realize that I'm jumping right into it, but that's because I'm not really sure how else to approach this. I don't know how else to introduce this. So I'm just going to jump right in and continue from where I last left off. And again, I'm so sorry to all of you out there, to all the listeners, if I'm a little bit incoherent in this episode, or maybe it's not as tight and as concise as previous episodes, just because this one, there's a lot to get through and unpack and discuss in this one. So previously, I detailed my relationship with Kay and how that ended, and how that wasn't really a relationship at all. It was more unrequited love. And after that happened, I had mentioned how I went into a deep depression for the next couple of years and how I got over it. Yes, I did actually get over that. And fortunately, and I'm very grateful for this, I got over it in what I think is the best way possible, in that I still had positive feelings about my time with Kay, the time we got to spend with each other, even though we can no longer be friends. The after effects of that falling apart, however, were pretty devastating, as I wasn't sure where my life was headed after that. I was a little bit hopeless, a little bit nihilistic, and a little bit lost. You got to remember, when I finally got over the whole situation with Kay, it was the beginning of 2020, near the beginning of 2020, and that's when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So, and at first that really did not affect me, just because at the time I was already, in between jobs. I was kind of just at home, lazing around and feeling depressed. And the idea of some kind of romantic relationship was not within it wasn't within my consciousness at the time. Well, fast forward a few months. So from March 2020 to I'd say late August 2020, my mom, messages me on WhatsApp and says, "Hey, um, are you interested in meeting somebody?" I go, "Meeting someone like, what do you mean? Like, like a girl, like to date?" And she goes, like, "Yeah, you could just meet her and talk to her and get to know her. Maybe you can be friends." Initially, I was very hesitant, as I usually am when it comes to dating suggestions proposed by my mom. This isn't the first time she's tried to introduce me to somebody. Um, I've always been very unreceptive to these proposals, but this time around it was a bit different. And I recall a conversation with one of my good friends, Ray, who was also in a relationship that he was able to be a part of by meeting somebody through family. And I remember him telling me, you know, just give it a chance. You never know. And the worst that could happen is that you make a friend. Well, I thought that was a good point and followed that with my mom suggesting that, maybe give this a chance. You'll never like you'll never know because you never give these things a chance. And so with those things in mind, I finally decide, okay, yeah, sure. Um, what's her name? Tell me a little bit about her and how I can add her. And, even actually before that, I was telling my mom, please make sure that she's okay with it, that she's actually wanting to do this. I really don't like these sort of things where someone sort of goes, "Oh, talk to this person," or "Can I introduce you to this person?" Because I want to make sure that that person is just as interested or is just being sort of um, pushed into it. Because if that's the case, I don't want to have to do that because it'll be a waste of both our times. Anyways, she was okay with this, and shortly thereafter, after the conversation I had with my mom, I added her. I believe I added her on Instagram first, and it was fairly awkward, as you might expect. I said hi, good to meet you. I really hope that it's okay with you, and all that stuff. And she's like, "No, it's okay." And we got to chatting a bit, just little pleasantries, nothing crazy. Um, but as the days go on, we start talking more and open up more. And I should tell you a little bit about her. Obviously, I'm kind of glossing over that part. We'll call her Gia. Gia is, or Gia was a beautiful girl who had a very strong personality. And I mean that in a good way. She's very confident in herself. Uh, uh she I'm sorry. Yeah, it's hard to go through this. Uh yeah, no, Gia was she was really sweet when I first met her. She's really nice, and we had some, great conversations about things. And she lived in Japan. She's actually from the Philippines, but she'd been working in Japan for, I think at the time, just just over 4 years. Uh, she's working there, or she was working there, but due to the pandemic, she actually ended up getting stranded there, and she wasn't able to work that much during that time, so it was very difficult for her. And so with that, you know, with that going on in her life, and with me not having a job, we actually had quite a bit of time between ourselves to chat and get to know each other. Um, like a couple weeks go by, and I realized that we've been chatting all the time, every single day, and it sort of became a routine for both of us. And I kind of started developing some kind of attachment to her, maybe a little bit of feelings too. At this point, we've just been chatting through text. We haven't had a call or video call, nothing like that. At least not yet. So, some weeks into this budding relationship, I it was I remember it was early morning. We were going on a trip to a beach. Well, the beaches here are all lakes, so but it's really nice. There's this area called King Cardin that we frequent. That used to be more of a secret getaway, but now is a lot more mainstream than before. It's still not as mainstream as some other places, but it's gotten pretty mainstream. But I remember that morning I was telling her on the way there how I couldn't, or how I've gotten used to talking to her all the time, and I think that I had some feelings for her. At first, I was a bit dejected because she had said that she wasn't sure if she had any feelings for me yet, but was also glad that we've been able to talk as much as we did, and that I've also become a part of her everyday life. So I didn't know where it was going to go. After that, I was like, okay, I guess we'll just be friends. And she's not interested in getting into a relationship. And I would understand completely, because with her being in Japan, me being all the way in Canada, on the most eastern side of Canada, to boot, it would be a very challenging long distance relationship. And this relationship would technically be my first, if ever. And it would be under some of the most challenging circumstances, if ever. Fast forward maybe, I don't know, another week, and this is now like early to mid September 2020. We were having, one of our conversations, just chatting, and I was telling her some stories, and I decided to be a bit more open, and she wanted to know about past relationships, and I told her about Kay and what that relationship had meant to me. And I think she really appreciated me being open and honest about that. And so she also decided to be open and honest about something in her life. And I remember feeling at the time, upon hearing the story, how, first of all, like how I felt for her, and how my heart cried for her, because it was I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to respect that. It was a difficult thing to go through, and the fact that she was still on her own, and from, at least from where I was standing, she was keeping things together. I thought, and I still think to some degree now, that she was a very strong woman, very strong young woman. And I was grateful that she decided to be so open with me. And I told her that. I said, "Hey, Gia, I don't take this lightly, and I'm grateful that you feel that you could trust me like this." That's when I really felt, and that she really felt, there was some sort of connection. And at that very moment, she asked if it was okay that she could call me. And I was hesitant. I was nervous because I was like, I'm finally going to talk to this girl that I've been talking to for some weeks now. And it seems like there's something going on here. And I hesitantly said, okay. The messenger, that's where we were chatting through messenger. Messenger starts ringing, heart's pounding. I'm just like, oh man, I'm about to talk to Gia. This is crazy. And I answer the call. It's silent. No one's saying anything. And I say hello. She says hello. And we both just start laughing. We were like laughing for like 10 minutes, barely able to get words out and barely able to get a sentence out. And I knew then I felt this connection to her. We didn't even really end up talking that long on the phone. I think she just wanted somebody there, and I wanted to be there for her because we had just, gone through this emotional conversation together. And I wanted to be there to support her because it was a very, I'm sure it was very difficult for her to share that and retell that. But from then on, we both knew that we had feelings for each other. Yeah, no, not long after that. Maybe I think a few days after that, or the details are now foggy. You're gonna have to excuse me because it's something I haven't really had to think about for quite a long time. But it might have been that same day, but she felt that she could trust me, and that she felt that, she felt safe with me. And no, yeah, no, it wasn't that same day. It was that weekend where it was actually, a funny thing is actually that weekend my best friend was getting married. And on that exact weekend when my best friend got married is when I kind of joked around with her, like, and watch out, I might ask you to be my girlfriend. And she's like, then why don't you do it already? And I'm like, all right, so like, don't don't blame me, don't blame me if I just ask you. And she's like, okay, let me show you. And she goes, Alan, will you be mine? Will you be my boyfriend? I was caught off guard. I did not expect that. She was the one who did it. She came out saying it first. And you cannot believe the sheer the sheer joy that I felt at the moment, Like, I felt acceptance, validation, I felt love. I said yes. And I said, will you be my girlfriend? She's like, yes. And I know this is fast. I realize that, okay? And looking back on it, definitely was quick. But that's just how things happened. It was like a whirlwind, right? We get caught up in emotions, and she says, I love you, and I say, I love you back, and that was it. We became a couple. A long distance couple. Whew. All right. So from then on, she and I were a thing. It was sweet, those first couple months, as I'm sure a lot of you know, It was sweet. It was just the sweetest thing. It was the best thing I've ever experienced. We had online dates. I even like just to celebrate our 1 month anniversary, I suggested we have like an actual date through the webcam. I like woke up super early because she was in Japan, right? So I wanted it to be easier for her to have a more convenient time. So it would be like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. over there, but here it would be in the morning. And it was nuts because I woke up because I wanted to have like a nice looking fancy dinner, you know? Because we couldn't go out on a date physically, obviously. And at the time, it was COVID. I couldn't travel. I couldn't go to Japan. I couldn't go see her. There were no options. So we had to make do with what we had. So we were we had a video date over Messenger, and I made it all nice. I had some flowers, some calla lilies, if I'm not mistaken, on the side. And I had a nice candle. It lit up, and I prepared this very nice like bistro type meal. I cooked like burgers, wings in the morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning. I had like a pint of beer, like you know what I mean. Like it was insane. It was like it was breakfast, but like it was like a pub dinner for breakfast. And she had ordered like pizza. Anyways, man, I'm losing track. Yeah, no, there were so many cool, like nice moments like that, and a couple months in, I was like, we have to make, if this is gonna work, I'm gonna have to find a job, and you know, and I did. I found a job. I said I'm gonna go get a job so I can, work towards this goal of you and I being together and living together. And I was extremely motivated, and I got a job within like a couple, not even like a week. It was like a couple of days. I was able to land a job. I was so happy at that time, so proud of myself because I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. Excuse me, I'm gonna be independent and support myself and support my girlfriend so that we can plan for the future together. It was it was the brightest spot in our relationship those first few months. But as the months went by, things were, there's always difficulties even in those early months. There were things that challenged us, but it was really difficult when I got a job. It started to become very challenging. And it's not because of we had less time to spend with each other because I started working. No, it wasn't that. It was because I don't. I'm trying to think of like the exact details I want to share here because I don't want to air it all out. I want to share it, but yeah, no. When I got a job, and she was having a hard time working. I'm the one who proposed and said, hey, let me, help you out. Let me take care of you because I wanted to show that I was serious about this relationship. I wanted to show her that I would do what it takes for us and for this relationship. And so I offered to help her, to help support her monetarily. And she initially was extremely reluctant. She didn't want to take like the money out of, principal, but eventually she did. And and sometimes I wish I never did that, but no, I think it would have happened either way. But because eventually it would become a point of contention, the money that that I would support her with, you know, it became something that she started to expect as opposed to something that I'm able to afford and give her. It became of something of a constant for her, and if it didn't arrive, it was difficult. It became a bit difficult because she would say that she needed it. And I know what you're all thinking at this point, right? This is already a red flag. And believe me, intrinsically, I knew that these were red flags, but you got to remember that this was my first relationship, and I was really committed to it. I was working hard for it. I was working towards it. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But there were, you know, arguments started to increase as the months went on. And it's not really just about, you know, I mean, a big chunk of it was because of the monetary support, you know. Man, I feel like I'm all over the place on this podcast, and I'm so sorry if I'm a jumbled mess. Okay, let me continue. Um, so yeah, there were other things that were causing issues. I'm not gonna say, you know, that it was just because of the monetary support. It was other things too. Um, you know, quality time that we were spending with each other kind of went down a little bit, or it was like on a steady decline over the months. But you know, we still found time for each other. We still had a lot of quality time with each other. But it was difficult, and one of the other challenging things to navigate through was my feelings that I had no idea I was going to be this way until I was in a relationship, my first one. And that issue and that challenge, which I think some of you might relate to or understand, was that I was a very there's no other way to say it. I was a very jealous boyfriend. I was a very jealous person, and a lot of that stemmed from insecurity and lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, lack of belief in myself that, you know, I'm a great boyfriend, that I'm a catch. A lot of those factors contributed to my being so jealous of like her interactions with the opposite sex. It happened fairly often, and it caused a lot of turmoil. And I personally have to take responsibility for that. And I know that was my red flag. That's, you know, if I saw red flags from her, that was definitely a red flag that she saw in me, I would assume. I was a very, very jealous boyfriend. Um, and I did not know what to do with it. I didn't know how to handle it. I really didn't. It was very difficult for me. I would get, you know, like I said, I would get jealous and I would get very upset. Um, Emotionally, I would feel a lot of anger, um, and frustration, and just an unbelievable amount of anxiety. You know, all these intrusive thoughts invading my mind. You know, thinking of all the, you know, potential, though unlikely scenarios, at least at the time. Ooh, yeah, no, it was tough to navigate through that. Every time that sort of, you know, emotional wave would come crashing onto me, it was hard to navigate, and it would really cause serious issues with our relationship whenever that happened. I'm trying to find a way to condense this because it's such a long saga. So as the relationship went on, we planned for more long-term planning, and eventually, I think 4 months or 5 months in, we both decided that, you know, I told her, you know, I don't need anything else. Like, we spend time with each other 24/7 almost, although only online through calls, through video calls. But I'm good with that, and I'm good with you. Like, I don't need to see anything else. And I said that, like, I wanted to marry her. I was dead serious about that. And she, at the time, reluctantly agreed to that. But, you know, I wanted to just see I only saw what I wanted to happen, right? So I really blinded myself to a lot of things going on at the time. Uh, But yeah, we were eventually started to plan, and I said, "Hey, in the summer, how about I'll help you, apply so that I'll help you get back to the Philippines, and we can plan a trip for the summer where I travel there and spend like a month there or something like that, and we can live together at my aunt's place in my home province. She has a really nice house there that we could stay in that she said would be, she actually offered, and I'm very grateful for that. I have a very good relationship with my aunt. Um, she's like kind of like a second mom to me in some ways. But yeah, no, I was planning those things with her, and even that was difficult because at first it was going to be April, then it was going to be May, and then June, and then July, and then August, and then finally September. Man, like the amount of times things got pushed back while we were planning our eventual meeting together. It got pushed back so many times, and I'm not even going to attempt to give you the reasons as to why those things were happening. I don't know if she was like delaying things on purpose because she was avoiding it, or she just wanted to get more, I don't know, monetary support from me. I know part of it is like legit stuff that delayed her trip, but there was like a lack of there is a lack of urgency. I felt that she had this lack of urgency to get home. But yeah, no, we eventually were able to plan it, and September was the chosen date, and I was able to successfully help her leave Japan and go back home to the Philippines to her family, who she hadn't seen in like 4/5 years. And when she got back to the Philippines is when things really started to go downhill. That's when things really started to get rough. Because, first of all, our interactions with each other, at least, especially with video calls and or even voice calls, decreased. It crashed, just boom, like a stock market crash, just all the way down. The line just crashes all the way to the bottom. And that was really difficult for me. And my my nature being of me being a very jealous person, it was even harder. The scenarios in my head swirled around even more vigorously because I know when she's at home, she's with her friends, she can socialize, and she's gonna go out, and that brings on a lot of different scenarios. She's gonna see a lot of dudes and stuff like that, and oh man, I it brings me a lot of anxiety even talking about it and think about it right now, like because I'm putting myself back to where I was in July of 2021 last year, like 12 months ago. And I was just an anxious mess because I was like, I wonder what she's doing now. I wonder where she is. But I kept telling myself, just trust in her, trust in this relationship, trust in yourself. She's living with her family at home with her mom, and at this time, I had a really good relationship with her mom. Like, she and I talked often, and she knew my intentions to marrying her daughter, all of that stuff. I had a very good rapport with her mom. I actually really grew close uh, with her mom during our time together as a couple. So I was like, no, her mom's like a really good person. So there's no need to worry. What matters is I love Gia, and that I was willing to do whatever it takes. I was willing to give whatever it takes so I could take care of her and that we could be happy. It didn't matter what the consequences would be for me, as long as I could make her happy and I could make the relationship work. And then, that one fateful day, I decided to check one of the stories that she had posted. She was hanging out with her brother and some friends. And there was this one story where it was her and this guy that I had seen previously. And they were very physically close in this story. It was like a short video. Like their faces got, for me, uncomfortably close at this time. And my heart dropped to my stomach. I remember thinking, I can't, this is this really a thing? This is really something that's going on right now? And I confronted her about it. I asked her, I'm like, hey, can you please just tell me who this guy is that you're like really close with? And she was saying that he was a childhood friend and it was whatever, right? And that there was no need for me to worry. That was tough. That was a tough pill to swallow. And for most people, for most guys, maybe for more experienced guys, they would have known to like see that as a red flag and distance themselves. Nope, not me. I was like, no. This is just me being paranoid, being insecure about myself. There's no way that this is in any way proof that she was messing around. The following weeks, the interactions with this guy increases. I see that he's tagged her. He tagged Gia in like a Facebook post meant for couples. That really set me off. I said, hey, what the hell is this? You know, I confront Gia about that. I'm like, what is this? And I was really upset then. And I almost broke. I was really considering maybe breaking up with her at the time. Because I was like, this, you better have a damn good explanation for this, because fuck this. This is not, I'm not, like, I'm done. Like, I can't deal with this sort of crap. Like, and she was telling me that it was a joke, some sort of stupid joke, some sort of inside joke between them that they wanted, that he had asked her to be a part of, so that like he could make like his girlfriend jealous, which to me, even if that reason was true, is asinine and just shows like the immaturity level of this person that she's hanging out with, and how and the fact that she even agreed to go along with it. Oh, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? That sounds like a scummy thing to do in the first place, and you said yes to it? And she tries to tell me that, oh, I'm sorry, like, I was tipsy, and I was like, tipsy? Do you realize, like, what you're telling me right now, that just because you're inebriated on some level, that you would go along with things that you normally wouldn't? Like, that does not, you realize that doesn't sound good, right? You realize what I'm hearing. Oh man, that was like, I was really close to just ending it right there, but again, I'm too sincere. Sincerity to a fault, to the point of me being naive and stupid. Trust me, I've thought about this, and like, there's nothing that you could say to convince me like, to tell me that, that I didn't think about this. I thought about it for sure, and I realized maybe I was being a little naive and putting hope where hope wouldn't flourish, But again, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. We've been together for almost a year at that point, and we've gone through so many things, and we've stuck it through, and we were able to solve problems. So I said, you know what? Fine. We're like, a few weeks, like a month from seeing each other, I'm going to see what's up. I'm going to finally see what's up and if this relationship has legs to stand on. Right? And still, I was like planning to ask her to marry me. I bought the ring and everything. And I was going to surprise her. I showed her, like, I showed my best friends. I showed my parents, my family. I showed them the ring. I showed her mom the ring. And my God. Yeah, no, I was just a poor, naive guy who just really loved this girl, despite knowing that, or at least subconsciously knowing that things were not going to work out. But I believed maybe that they would, and that things were not as they seemed, and there was just misunderstandings. No, no. Okay, we're almost there. We're getting there, and I hope that the story is making sense. So finally, we get to the point where it's time to fly out to the Philippines. I read all the important information pertinent to the whole COVID process, because at that time, Delta was raging throughout the world, and traveling in September was like kind of a risky thing, especially going to the Philippines from Canada. But I was able to do it. I was able to clear everything. I had all the proper documents, blah, 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 blah. And I landed in the Philippines. I had to go quarantine for 10 days in like this, dinky hotel. I decided to go the budget version, because I wanted to save money. So it felt like literally like a prison cell. Like the view from my window was a wall and a fence. Oh, and by the way, she also had to quarantine when she first arrived in the Philippines a few months back from then. And monetarily helped her out with that too. And she got to stay at a really nice hotel by Mount Pinatubo. It's like this amazing view with the lake and the volcano in the middle while I was in the prison cell. That just shows you how much I cared about myself and how I put everything into her, into this relationship. If that's not a visual representation, then I don't know what is. But yeah, no, I spent my time in the quarantine. Day 7, they test you to see if you're negative. And if you are, you get to go out a day earlier. And thankfully, I was negative, and I was able to get out on day 9. Day 9, my uncle picks me up. Thank you, Tito Bong, for driving me around. Shout out to you and Tita Maya. You guys are the best. Anyways, yeah, no, he picked me up, and then we went to go to Gia's hometown or home neighborhood, whatever. And we pick her up. And this is the first time I'm seeing Gia in person. And even to this day, that moment makes me smile. I'm not talking about all the other things surrounding the relationship. I'm just talking about and focusing on the exact moment I finally get to meet my, then what I thought was the love of my life. I finally was able, I finally am here, and I'm about to meet her. I'm about to see her in person. I'm about to touch her. I'm about to feel her. I'm about to smell her. All of that, this person is real, and I'm finally about to be able to spend my time with her in person. She and her family didn't live in a rich neighborhood or anything. It was kind of this little rundown street, but that's just how it is in the Philippines. That's normal. I never thought twice about it. People live, some people live very difficult lives there in very difficult situations. I never placed any judgment. I grew up, or not grew up, but I was a part of that sort of thing quite a few times. Fortunately, I was in a fortunate situation with my parents working abroad and living abroad. But I was never foreign to those sort of situations. So I never thought twice about it. I never thought twice about it, and it was okay. It didn't matter to me. Anyways, as I entered, their home, I brought all my suitcases with the gifts in it. She's finally there, and this she's in this blue sundress. Her hair was soft. It looked like she had just, like, obviously, like, cleaned up, showered and stuff, like, and dried her hair. It was straight, and she had it down, and I see her, and I don't know why, but, like, I didn't expect it, I guess, but she was smaller than I thought. Like, and I go to her and I'm like, babe. and and she, we just hugged each other, and how, small and fragile she felt when I hugged. I'm kind of a big dude. I'm 6 feet and over 200 pounds. I'm, trying to shed a little bit of that weight, but I'm a big dude. And when I gave her a hug, she felt so small and fragile and sweet. I could smell, like, her hair. Like I said, it was just freshly washed. I could smell the shampoo and the conditioner, the perfume that she had put on. She smelled. She smelled lovely, and I'm stumbling because that's how I felt at the time. I didn't really know what to do. I just felt so happy, so damn happy. I could feel her, and she was warm, and she said, "Let me just gather my things, just sit down here and wait." And I met her. Finally, got to see her mom, and we got to talk in person. I met her niece. I met her, her sister, and I opened up the luggage, showing the gifts and stuff. So yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, eventually we leave. We get in the car, head to my home province, to my aunt's place, and that car ride I'll never forget. Just because it was the first time in my life. I asked her during the car ride, "Hey, is it okay if I hold your hand?" And she goes, "Yeah, of course." Right? Like, it's just holding her hand, right? But this is the first time we were together, and so I was nervous, and I wanted to make sure she was okay with it. I just didn't want to grab her hand, like, out of nowhere. We haven't spent enough time physically together. I didn't know it was okay. She's like, "Yeah, of course." Like, of course, like, I'm your girlfriend. You can hold my hand. And when I put my hand on hers, and she squeezed my hand tight, our fingers interlocked, and she was running her thumb through mine. That warmth. That was the first time in my life at that point where I thought that things were gonna be okay. That things were gonna turn out good. And even though that feeling has long gone, I still remember how it felt. And that's always gonna feel like that. That's etched into my history. Anyway, we get to my aunt's place, and we settle in. We do all the things. We go shopping, like a couple, grocery shopping, pick out the foods we like. We put away everything. We have dinner together and proceed to have an amazing time together, living like an actual couple at my aunt's house, in this beautiful house in this gated community. It was like a dream. I felt like I was living in some kind of, like, beautiful dream for a bit, until eventually I realized that I was playing house with somebody who I thought was the love of my life, like I previously mentioned, but the next 2 weeks, things would unravel. I loved every moment of it. Don't get me wrong. I loved waking up early in the morning. She's still in bed. I cook breakfast and I gently nudge her out of bed and have her coffee ready and the food ready. And we would just watch movies and TV. And we would occasionally go out to the mall, wherever we could anyway, during that time, like the pandemic time. Order food in, just awesome little things. But like I said, things started to unravel because as the days, went on, I noticed too often that she was like on her phone. And I was like, why the heck is she always on her phone? I realized that we're in this, day and age of technology. But I was like, why is she always on her phone? Right? And one day, while she's on her phone, sometimes when you're with your friends and everyone's phone is out, sometimes you catch a glimpse of what's on their screen. It's not like you do it intentionally, right? So I catch a glimpse of her phone. Excuse me, I'm just gonna get a drink of my iced coffee here. I catch a glimpse of her phone. Her messenger is open. I see the icon of this dude. The same guy in her stories a month ago. The same guy that she's been spending time with. And I go, in my head, I'm like, this fucking guy. Again, what's with this guy, right? I was upset. So, in this house, there's in a lot of houses in the Philippines, there's an area called the dirty kitchen, where it's like the kitchen prep area is separate from everything else. So all the mess, all the smells while you're cooking, it's all just in that area. So in my aunt's house, there's a dirty kitchen area. In the back, there's doors and stuff. And there's windows from inside the house to see into the dirty kitchen area. And there's this one part of this area you can look through where there's a two-way mirror. Or no, sorry, a one-way mirror. From the outside you can look in, but from in there it just looks like a mirror. Well, my girlfriend Gia, or my ex-girlfriend, sorry, Gia was a regular smoker. And she would always be out there when she smoked because she wanted to, and obviously for me also, wanted to have this, the sense and the smoke to be outside and not in where we live, where we spend our time. So one day, just because I was already suspicious, and I know this is like unsavory behavior, but I felt like I had no choice but to investigate, I just couldn't sit back anymore because things are starting to look worse and worse. And I was like, I have to face this. This is something I have to do. And I don't have many options. So I look over and I see that she's chatting with the guy again. Let's call him Eyes. All right. And there's a reason for that. I'm not going to go into the details. But anyways. Well, it's like the nickname she gave him on Messenger. Like an eye emoji. So whatever. So I see that this friggin' Eyes guy is messaging her. I'm not sure what she's saying or what they're talking about. So, at the time, I just gotten this brand new like S21 Ultra phone, and the zoom capabilities on that phone are insane. Like insane. You can zoom from so far away. So this would be a piece of cake for it. So I zoom in, it's hard because like you have to keep it super stable, and she's kind of shifting around while she's smoking and on her phone. But I see enough because I see there's this one part where I see they're speaking Tagalog, but I'll say it in English so that for obvious reasons, just so I could tell the story easily. I see him going. I just caught a glimpse of it. I didn't really see the full sentence, but it went something along the lines of, "Does he even know that we call each other baby? Does he even know that we call each other baby?" The feeling of dread and shock from seeing that. Indescribable. I, it was like I felt the foundations of this thing shaking and was just on the verge of collapse. Again, my heart dropped to my stomach, and I was just like, I can't believe it. This is actually happening. It's like all those times where I felt there was something off, where my gut didn't feel right. It's real. It's actually happening. But I didn't get proof of it. I just saw. I mean, I did get proof, but I wasn't able to capture it. So it's just something that I saw. So I confront her later that evening, and we get into a huge shouting match, huge argument. She has no proof, and she's just saying that you misread something. It's a group chat, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing going on. You're the only one, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just upset, and I couldn't believe it. And she was really trying hard to convince me that there was nothing. And she made it seem like it was my fault for being a creep. Like in terms of like, I was spying on her stuff. I was being inconsiderate and disrespectful and not giving her like privacy and violating her privacy, which, I mean, yes, I did. And just, I can't avoid that. I did violate her privacy because I looked over, but I felt more than justified in doing it because of everything leading up to that point. So, the night didn't end well. She was upset at me. I was still feeling upset at her, though I felt bad. You see, she even, I felt bad that I did that. And then the next morning I was dejected. I woke up early and I was crying my eyes out because I'm like, this is just not going to work. She came to me. I was on the couch. I was sitting. She stood in front of me and she wrapped her arms around my head and my shoulders and pulled me in close to her chest. And she said, "You're the only one that I love. You're the only one that matters. My family knows you. They know I'm here with you. Why would I be talking to anybody else?" Basically, it's not obviously verbatim, but it's along those lines. And just like that, it's like, the Hulk going back to being Bruce Banner. She placated me, and I believed her. I hung on to every word and thought, okay, maybe this will be okay. Maybe this will be fine. I calmed down, and we proceed to have a decent day. We kind of salvage it. But that being said, something still didn't leave my gut feeling. There was still something there, like a stone just sat at the bottom, like it just won't move. My birthday's coming up. It's like days away. We were planning to do something for the next day. This was like September 20th, I think. Next day, we were planning to like go to the salon together, get our hair done together. At the time, I really had long hair, and I wanted to, trim it down for her, and you know, just so that she could see what my hair was like short. I was gonna regrow it again anyway. I like having long hair, but that same day, there was an incident. So I'm all for, female empowerment, and I support that movement, and for women to express themselves in any way that they feel is liberating for them. That said, my girlfriend took these very she posted photos on her social media stories that were, for me, a little too revealing, considering that she and I were a couple, and that I wasn't okay with that sort of thing. It's not like she was like a model or anything, but she posted photos in the bedroom we stayed in, like on the bed that we slept in, like, and it made me feel uncomfortable. I felt extremely uncomfortable because I know the amount of, guys that follow her, and I knew the sort of things that, she would be getting her way because of photos like that. And needless to say, because of my jealous nature, as we've established earlier in this 1 hour episode now, that, you know, I turned green, turned into the Hulk again. And I was upset. I was like, I'm not, but I was calm. I was like, hey, can we talk about this? Because I don't feel comfortable about this. I really don't. And I'm trying to understand and be more patient with you, but this is hard. This is tough. Okay, after all that we've been through, after the recent argument we've been in, and this, I just don't know. Funny thing is, she actually was able to calm me down a bit again, and I thought to myself, okay, I'll sit on it for a few hours and try to calm down, and maybe I'll be okay. I got to think this through. I got to think this over. Actually, that not long following that, we were just in bed lazing around, and we had a really good conversation, and it really felt like we were a couple. And that was probably the last time I'd ever feel like we were a couple. Because later that evening, it wouldn't leave me, that feeling, and that story that she had posted on her social media pages. I was like, no, I've sat on this for a few hours, and I just can't find a way to be okay and comfortable with this. So I have to talk to her about it and figure out a way we can get around this, because this is not something I'm good with. Okay, so I confront her again. Well, not confront. I just say, can we please talk? I just really would like to have a conversation with you about that story earlier. And she's like, what's there to talk about? We're done, right? And I was like, yeah, but I still feel uncomfortable about it. And she's like, well, she said in a very cold way, well, that's your problem, not mine. And I don't know what it was about that, but I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm fed up. This is it. Tonight, I'm going to get definitive proof that you have not been faithful to me, and that you've been messing around behind my back. I was thinking this in my head, because the way that she responded was so cold and so uncaring that it just made me finally snap and decide that, you know what, that's it. Like, we're gonna find out tonight what this relationship really is. And I was like, okay, all right, fine, you're right. It's your choice. Like, it is your choice. I was telling her this. It's your choice. It's your body. It's your decision. Of course, this is your prerogative. But don't you want to consider my feelings since we're partners? Can't we at least talk about that and maybe try to figure this out? She's like, there's nothing to say. I'm like, okay. And that really just cemented it. I was like, okay, there's just nothing left. There's nothing left. She doesn't really care anymore at this point. And so, because I know her patterns, I knew at some point she would go to the dirty kitchen to do her thing, to smoke her cigarette. This time I came prepared. I made sure to turn the lights out. I told her I was going to bed early. She went out there, turned all the lights out. The only lights were in that dirty kitchen area where she was, smoking and on her phone. I quietly sneak up. And again, I don't feel proud about this. I want to make that very clear to everybody. I never felt good and I never felt proud having to snoop around my then girlfriend's phone. But I had no choice left. I felt like I was living in a hell that was looping over and over again, and I couldn't figure out why. I just had to do this. So I quietly snuck up to the area with the window, and I would start recording my screen so I could record my camera zooming in, right? Because the Zoom capabilities, unfortunately, don't transfer to video recording. So I had to do it another way. So I was screen recording what was on my screen, and zooming through the camera on my phone. So I zoom in, and she's on her phone. She's scrolling through her Facebook feed. Nothing really going on. But I was like, you know what? I'll be patient. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for this because eventually I know she's going to go to her messenger. And after around 10 minutes, my hand started to get, tired and shaky from like being still and having it extended out. But eventually, she did go open Messenger up. I see eyes over there. She opens up the chat, scrolls all the way down, and as I'm filming and recording the footage, I read the messages that she scrolls down to, or the latest ones. I see this bastard. I see him go, and again, I'm saying this in English, but he was going, "Don't worry, babe. I'll behave. Don't think about anything." Right? That's what it said. I could pull up the screenshot. I still have it. I just don't want to. But that's what it basically said. He was explaining how he was going to go out, but don't worry, I won't fool around. I won't mess around on you. So don't worry, don't think about it too much. And that was it. That was the moment I knew that none of this was in my imagination. None of this was a result of, intrusive thoughts from anxiety that was stemming from, my lack of self-confidence and resulting in jealousy. None of that. It was true. It was real. This is real now. There was no other way to spin that. And as soon as I got proof of that message, I knew then and there that the right thing to do was to break up with her and end this relationship. So, as soon as I got that footage, that screenshot, the first person I call is her mom. Because her mom has done nothing but been kind and sweet to me, has treated me like her own, and I wanted to give her respect. The respect that she deserves, and she deserved the truth. I'm nervous. I have a lump in my throat. Oh, man. I'm nervous. I'm shaking. I'm not sure what to say, how to start it. I see her on the video call. She's like, "Hi, what's going on?" I said, "Hi, Tita. I'm so sorry to have to call you and tell you this news, but I really don't have any choice left here. I'm breaking up with your daughter. I'm breaking up with Gia. Unfortunately, she has not been faithful to me and is talking to somebody else. And then I sent her the screenshot. She's looking at it, trying to make sense of it. I see her face, shocked, confused, and she was speechless. She was just sort of staring at the screen. I'm staring at the screen too, thinking, I wonder how Tita feels. And I remember just thinking, wow, this is over. Can't believe that she would do this. I never wanted to be in this situation. This was always my nightmare situation, and I'm in it. I'm living it. She goes, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. And I said, that's okay. I understand. I have to go now. And then I went to go. I hung up and I went to go call my mom now. And she was in tears. She was crying for me, saying, don't just forget her and stuff like that. She didn't know what she was saying. She was distraught. I said, don't worry, it'll be fine. I just want you to know that it's over between her and I. Then I make another phone call, another important one. I call my best friend up. Hearing my mom cry was hard. When I called my best friend and informed him of the news, to hear him cry, and I've never heard him cry before. Not that he doesn't cry, or not that he's not emotionally sensitive, because I know that he is, but I've never heard him cry, and I didn't need to see him to know that he was crying for me. He was on the other end crying for me. I remember him telling me, he's like, just please come home, man. Just come home and come see. We're here. Your friends are here. We'll be there for you. Just telling me to come home because he also can't make, he can't make sense of the situation, and he had no idea what was going on, and that this whole thing was even, this ongoing saga between Gia and I, but it's like I'll probably never forget that phone call. He's such a sweet, he's a good guy. He's a sweet guy. And to hear him like that, to hear the outpouring support, but also him feeling so deeply for me, that was I knew at some point the Waterworks would come on this podcast. I'm sorry if I'm kind of a mess, but yeah, so I told him I'll be okay, not to worry about me. Yeah, so I go confront Gia afterwards. I tell her, I don't even tell her anything. I'm just like, hey, it's over between us. I am breaking up with you, and you can pack your things. I'll have my tito to come pick you up, and I'll go with him, and we'll get you home safely and soundly. Okay. And she just nonchalantly sits on the couch there, staring back at me, and goes, "Okay, yeah, no problem." And she's like, "Can I ask why, though?" And I'm just like, I, you really, just said that? You're asking me why I broke up with you. And I'm just like, I don't want to go through the whole conversation, you know? I just told her, like, I don't need to tell you. There's no hiding anymore. You can't tell me anything anymore. Like, I know for sure that you cheated on me. You were unfaithful to me. You went behind my back. All the things, all the times that we spent together, all the I love yous, every single thing that I was working towards for us and that we were supposed to do together, everything is gone, destroyed. You destroyed everything. It's all gone. None of this is happening anymore. And none of what we went through matters. Nothing matters. Nothing mattered. And she still tried to deny it. But eventually she admitted to it, because there's nothing, like, she ran out of space to spin her web of lies. She couldn't do it. She cornered herself. There was nothing left to hide. And then she goes on to explain that it was a difficult time for her coming home and transitioning again, and then there was all this pressure because she knew that she had to marry me, or that we were going to get married, and all this other crap. And that's what, like, got her to, like, emotionally rely on this stupid guy, this eyes guy. And, you know, I'm just it's, you know, I'm in that space, at least partially. I've put myself back in that space, and that's why I feel like I'm kind of channeling a bit of that anger that I felt then. I just I I asked her, why couldn't you have just told me? We could have just broken up. You could have said that you didn't feel anything anymore for me, or that you felt something else. You felt something for someone else. Why did you have to go down this route? And she tells me it's because it's hard to say no to me. Whatever, man. I can't remember crying so much. Ever. I told her to sleep in the bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch. A few hours later, she comes out to me. I'm sitting there. I can't face her. She's trying to hug me. She's trying to tell me that she's sorry. She goes on her knees. She lays her head on my thigh, and she's like saying how sorry she is and that how much she's messed up. And I'm conflicted, because I know the truth. I know what reality is now, but you got to remember, this just happened. You know, my love for I loved her so much that I was thinking of ways that we could work this out. I was thinking of ways that maybe this is just a bump in the road, but I couldn't do that. It was hard for me to get past the fact that she was unfaithful to me. Like, she broke that trust. The trust is gone. The trust is completely gone. You can't, I don't even, like, it's not possible to bring that back. And even if you did, I don't know how stable it would be or how long it would last. I just couldn't trust her anymore. She and I just, like, cried all night. I showed her the ring, because I was gonna propose soon, like after my birthday or on my birthday, and she started crying even more when she saw the ring, and I cried, and I put that ring on her finger, It was beautiful, and it symbolized everything that I thought we should have been. But it was just not, it was never going to happen. The next day, we say our goodbyes. We drop her off home. I didn't want to let her go. Even then, it was so hard for me to do that. I didn't want to lose her, but I knew I had already lost her. Or, more accurately, she lost me because of what she did. But see, even you could tell how I was at that point and what my mindset had been like, saying things like that. Like, she was the one who was unfaithful to me. I did everything. I poured my heart and soul into this relationship, and she chose to be unfaithful. She chose to mess around and have feelings for somebody else other than me. So it wasn't even me yet. I was being hard on myself the next, couple of weeks, trying to make sense of this. I felt like I was in hell because after when I got back to that house from, we dropped her off, and my uncle came, and my nephew and my cousin came over too, and they were trying to, keep me company, and they brought a bunch of like food and drinks. They wanted me to get drunk with them, and I disappointed them greatly because I'm not really a drinker. If I did drink, I'm not much of a drinker. I just wanted to be alone. But so probably one of the hardest 2 weeks following an event that I've ever had to endure. I don't know. I felt like I was in some kind of hellish purgatory. Everything reminded me of her. Every corner of the house. Every time I was on the bed, I could still smell her scent. Just everything. I couldn't sleep. Every few minutes, I dreamt about being with her. It was basically like a withdrawal, but it was tough. It was tough. Getting through it was tough, but I did get through it. I mean, I'm here now, and I'm okay with it. I've made peace with it at this point in my life. I mean, there's a lot of things in between, but I think I'm going to talk about that in the next episode, considering that we're approaching the hour and a half mark here now. I just wanted to make sure I tell the story between Gia and myself. I'm trying to think of a way to close this. It's been an overwhelming ride, and having to recall all of this again for this podcast so you guys could understand how have come to this point in my life. There are just some things that you don't really know what would be or what could be until you take part in it. And then when you take part in it, you sort of learn things about yourself that you never knew existed. You learn things about yourself that you had no idea could be. And that's definitely the case with myself and my relationship with Gia. Like, I would have never known this issue of extreme jealousy, which stemmed from this issue of a lack of self-confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, which would eventually lead to my realization of how much I hated myself and how much I didn't care about myself, which, we'll talk about more detail in the final episode of the series next week. But even through such depressing and hellish times as the ones I went through during that breakdown of my relationship with Gia, I it's almost like, like the phoenix rising from the ashes sort of thing. It was a very painful way to grow, because make no mistake about it, I grew a lot as a man through that relationship. I found out a lot of things about myself that I needed to address. And I found out how much how much love I could give somebody, how much care and dedication I could muster up so I could make sure that my partner would be taken care of and that we would have a good relationship. But all that love, that care, all that effort was one-sided, because I would only give that to my partner and I would never give that to myself. And it took me to ignore all the red flags, all the gaslighting from Gia, to realize that I didn't give myself any of that, and that I didn't want to, because to me, I did not matter as much as the person I'm in the relationship with. They matter more than me. I can suffer, but as long as they're happy, it's okay. And I learned that that is an extremely unhealthy and toxic way of being in a relationship. But I had no idea until I was in one. I didn't know I was going to end up that way. I didn't know that's how I was going to behave. But it's not like there weren't signs or anything, because I was like that with my friends too, right? I would have these moments where I felt like I needed to split from everybody, because I felt like I was growing more resentful, because I would always be so caring, and I felt like no one was like that for me, so, and and that was because I couldn't give that same amount of care to myself. I was expecting it from another source. I was expecting it from the people I was giving it to, where I should be giving it to myself first and foremost. But I didn't know that, and I did not even realize that that was the case until all of that went down with Gia. Now, am I saying that you need to be part of a very unpleasant, torturous, and difficult thing to be able to realize things like that? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not quite sure. I know that going through difficult times like that typically, usually results in growth and important lessons being learned. Though, like I was saying, I don't think it's exclusive to situations like that, but situations like that definitely are conducive to moments of growth, of change, of transformation. And that's certainly how I feel about what I went through with Gia. And despite all that, despite the scars that I still bear, despite a piece of my heart that will forever ache from that relationship, even if it's just a very small, dull ache now, the positive things that I experienced, they were as real as anything else. And all the crazy and saddening things that happened, they happened, they were real. But all the good times that we spent together, both the big and the small, they happened too. And in those moments, we were both happy together. So I take some solace in that. And I think that piece of you just will never go away. It'll always be a part of your history. It'll be a part of your memory, not just your mind's memory, but your heart's memory. And all shapes, it all helps shapes who you are now and who you would become. And I truly believe that it shapes you for the better, that it helps you grow. And so, despite all that pain, I'm not angry. I'm accepting of all of it, and I regret none of it. Because the way I feel now, the way that I look at myself now, is so radically different from the admav that was then, to the point where it was very difficult and very challenging for me to think the way that I did back in 2020 when I first met Gia. I'm in such a different place now 2 years later. But none of that would have happened. I wouldn't have gone through all that growth. I wouldn't have transformed had it not been for all that turmoil. And that applies to all of you out there. When you're going through something so difficult, when you're going through something that you feel is too traumatizing and that you would never get over it. And, I don't want to trivialize the levels of trauma that people go through, okay? I know people will feel like they've gone through worse, and that's valid. But I'm just saying that no matter what, wounds will heal. Yes, scars will remain. And yes, r- residual pain will also remain. And hopefully, eventually, it won't be that much of a bother. It won't bother anyone at all. But there is a path to healing. And it's okay that the path to healing is not a straight line. It never is. It's different for everybody. But everyone can heal. Everybody heals. Just hang in there, stay true to yourself, and just be with and surround yourself with the people that you love and that care for you and that you care for. You can get through these things. I know if I did, I know you can. It's tough. And I would never trivialize the difficulty in mustering up enough energy and courage and strength to get through it. It takes a lot, but you can get through it. Things do get better, and you will be able to live your life again. I'm going to end this podcast with a tribute to the relationship Gia and I had. Though it was a difficult relationship, we still had genuine moments together. And I think it's okay that we could still appreciate those moments despite the worst moments overtaking everything else. Gia, I hope that you're doing better, that you've grown as a person. And I just want to wish you the best in life. Always. I won't forget you. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode of Admav's Corner. I really appreciate every one of you tuning in and listening to these stories, these random stories from this random guy in Canada. But I want you to know that I truly appreciate all of you, and I'm thankful. I'm very grateful for all of you. Have a good Canada Day weekend, and have a good week coming up, and I'll see you on the next episode of Admav's Corner. And I hope you enjoy this rendition of this song that I wrote. I wrote at the end of the relationship between Gia and I. It's called It Was Always You. Take care, everyone. Love you guys. 1, 2, 3. The hours that we spend endlessly believing you and I were meant. You had my heart and all of me until the end. You were my love, my light, my angel, my best friend. Wanted to be wrong with what I felt, but you really gave your heart to someone else. Everything I see, everything I do, through all the pain and anguish that you put me through, when it was just you and me and the things we wanted to do, it was always you. The countless times you lied about it all, telling me it was my trust, that it's my fault. Had to find the truth, 'cause you would never take the fall. Found out the worst way, so I had to make the call. I'll never get why you did what you did to me. You're not the girl that I always thought you'd be. No, everything I see, everything I do, through all the pain and anguish that you put me through, when it was just you and me and the things we wanted to do, it was always you. Every morning light, every nighttime moon, despite the hurt I feel, I still feel for you. But I gotta leave, I've got things to do. But there was once a time when it was always you. Oh, it was always you. It was always you. 'Cause there was once a time when it was always you. Oh, it was always you. It was always you. But there was once a time when it was always you. It was always you. It was always